All right, well, thank you guys all for showing up. I really appreciate it. I think the first person who is going to be speaking is my really longtime friend, one of the first people I met when I moved out here, Mercedes Foster. And
hi, everybody. I'm Mercedes Foster. I have known Jamin now for over a dozen years. We met working together in our neighborhood, trying to bring some community to the blocks on which we moved. There were so many new people, and it was just such a relief to have somebody there who just was smart and willing to reach out to people in a meaningful way. And then we both served on the May Valley Neighborhood Council for several years. I'm just really excited that he's running for city council, and I'm really happy to be a part of this experience and to support him. And let's see, what else do I want to say? Oh, you've done so many things. Okay, I'm not going to say all this stuff. I wrote stuff down, and I'm like, nah, that's official. You know. But I do want to introduce a community activist, and I've heard Jamin's #1 canvasser, Diana Weir. Where did she? There she is.
Hi all, can you hear me okay? Yeah. It is with great pleasure that I announce my support and encourage you all to support Jamin, which probably that's why you're here today. Canvassing, I really enjoy canvassing, first of all, because I love the people of Richmond, and canvassing is such a rich way to really introduce yourself, but also to listen and hear where the candidates are coming from. And it's so interesting being with Jamin, because I was in his neighborhood, and I don't know what the issues are, and it's sideshows. And it's the only issue, and everybody will tell you. And Jamin is just so good. He has a plan, he explains, he listens, and then is able to draw out people that also have other issues, well, not really issues that we think of in the progressive community, but they're neighborhood issues, so they're real issues, and they're real personal. And he has a way of connecting the dots to how to bring those issues to correction, to fruition, and making the neighborhood as well as the city of Richmond a better place. And I tell you, I've got that Monday slot, but I'm sure some of you could volunteer for any of the other canvassing slots. So it's with great pleasure working with Jamin. And I want to say one other thing. I sent him a text one day just being so impressed, and he thanked me for the support, and I said, no, I said, sure, I'm happy to take the thanks, but really, I'm doing this for the city of Richmond, not just Jamin's campaign, so you can too.
thank you. So I want to thank you all for coming out. Official announcement of running for city council. It is a little bit late. I've already been knocking on doors. I've already been raising money, and that's because we didn't know what the districts are going to be. I thought it was really important to try and include everybody and trying to make sure that we knew who everybody was going to be in my district in order to be able to reach out. I wanted to also make sure that it was something that was accessible to them, which is why we're over here closer to the Hilltop Park and Hilltop area. You know, I know that they as well have many concerns about the city. The mall is kind of like, and maybe I'm Alaskan and maybe this is kind of relatable, but maybe it's not. The mall is a bit of a dead whale. It is a skeleton, and it is a constant reminder of something that was once really great and beautiful, but unfortunately it is no longer able to serve what it did. And so either we as the community can figure out a way to be able to utilize it, or we're going to have the scavengers come and pick it clean and we'll get nothing. It is really important that we all have our voices be heard, have our voices be lifted up. I've already knocked on over 550 doors. I plan before the end of this race to knock on every single door within this district. I want to make sure that I have spoken to everyone who is willing and able to speak with me. We'll be having a number of events as well that will present many more opportunities to do so. But I feel like we want to make sure that the Hilltop and the District 4, which is May Valley, Carriage Hills, they've often have this feeling of being left out of the city of Richmond, that they're for some reason being forgotten, and that the concerns of the inner part of the city are way outweigh whatever their concerns are. And while they do have perhaps some more urgent concerns that could be addressed very quickly, doesn't mean that the concerns of people up at Hilltop and up in this area are any less important to us, because we live here, we have to deal with them consistently, and they're things that affect us in our daily life. So part of my campaign as well is to hopefully bring the city to be more together as a community, to make sure that the people in District 4 feel like their voices are heard and that they're validated and that they are being presented to the City Council in an authentic way and not just purely through particular mouthpieces. I want to make sure that people feel like they can engage in the city. And part of that also goes to my thoughts on public safety. A lot of ideas about public safety have been levied off to the police officers. It's very unfair. They are not Atlas. They cannot carry everything. And with the reimagining of public safety, we have been able to allocate money into mental health services and intervention, into homeless services and intervention, and job training. And I think that's very important. And there's so much more, because public safety is not purely on the police. That's why they're called the police and they're not called the public safety. There's a breadth of services that provide public safety. Those are after-school programs. Those are opportunities for young people. They're for opportunities for people who are formerly incarcerated. It is about making sure that people have housing. It is about making sure people have can transition from, if they are substance abusers, into a safe environment. These things are issues that the state faces, but they really hit here home in Richmond hard because we have so many who are affected by COVID. So I really hope that in the new year and through this campaign, I'm able to help bring people together in a way that is safe and way that is approachable, but as well a way that will foster the community that we know has fallen away due to the alienation of COVID. And I'm hoping that in those moments where we've come together as a community, we'll be able to build a stronger Richmond, the more interconnected Richmond. And it is through that strong community that I think that public safety really lies, because when we are looking after each other, we can make sure that we're all going to have a prosperous future. Those are my big ones. So thank you so much. I'm going to be here for a while. So if you have any questions or if you have anything else you would wish to speak with me about, I would love to hear it. And thank you so much for coming out today. There's a lot of work ahead, and I know that there's already some opposition, but I'm up for the fight, and I hope to have your support during it. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Earlier you spoke about Hilltop Mall and about encouraging the people here to have a say in what happens there. Considering that Prologis paid $117 million for it, should they have any say in how it's developed?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're the ones who are going to be operating their business out of there. So they absolutely should have a say. I just hope that they're going to be good community partners and be able to listen to the voices and what the people around there need. A lot of people are really concerned about the value of their home going down within a big industrial, what do they call it?
Logistics center?
Logistics center, because of the trucks and because of the noise and such like that, and the lights, of course. So I hope that there's a way to find a balance that everybody can have their needs met, and we don't just let that be lost and the community is not able to be heard.
Have you had any meetings with the Prologis people at all?
Not yet, no. I have
Okay.
not been able to I haven't reached out, but I am also it's not my district, so I've been waiting for some arrangements through the campaign with Eduardo to be able to, because he's running for mayor and that's at large. The Prologis is actually, I believe, in District 2.
No, it is not. It is in your district.
Where I have everything from the curl around the mall south, but I don't have the actual mall itself.
All right, I will recheck that, and
If I'm wrong, I'd be happy to know.
I'll walk it back if I'm wrong too. But were you aware that Prologis has not said at all that they plan to have a logistics center there?
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
Are you aware that Prologis has never said that they plan to put a logistics center at Hilltop?
Well, that's pretty much all their other locations when you look them up online.
Yes, but it's an assumption. But at the public many public meetings that they've had, they've invited the public to weigh in on what they want there, including residential, including shops, including office buildings, and light commercial. Not saying that they won't have logistics center there, but it is not a major logistics center.
From my understanding, and perhaps this is just from people who I've heard from the community, they've said that there's already some logistics that are happening there underneath the mall, and that Amazon is running something out of there as well.
Amazon was leasing part of the parking lot to park their vehicles,
And
but they're not using anything in the buildings themselves
okay.
because they have their own logistics center on the other side of the parkway.
Well,
Okay.
if they are not planning to be logistics, that would be news, as it is not is not what they have on any of their other sites that they have listed on their
Understand.
websites or any other research that has been done about them. So I would look forward to them looking into this new, looking into other avenues, whether it be residential or commercial, because those are the things that I believe the community is really interested in, is making sure that it's not something that is, so that it, I think they're really interested in seeing something that is still going to be accessible to them and that is still going to be able to bring the community together, whether that be commercial spaces or whether it be residential spaces. I think any of those sound good.
A couple of other issues. I'm not going to throw you anything softball. Let me just throw you something a little bit more contentious.
Okay.
Point Melati. What are your thoughts?
I don't think the Point Melati should be developed.
Period?
I think if there is any development, it should be done with the idea of a recreational area, perhaps some soccer fields, something that allows for nature to be able to be there, perhaps a few small buildings if necessary, that is already there, being converted into some community spaces. But the idea of a larger development, it seems outrageous. I was just there yesterday, and to try and think that somehow that was going to be still accessible to people, I think is a bit of a stretch as well. I think that it has a lot of beauty to still offer the community, and I think it should be preserved for the community and for the future.
Were you aware that the congressional mandate requires that it be, and this is the key phrase, an economic engine for the revitalization of the community and cannot cost the community a dime to operate or maintain?
Could you be more specific in your, I'm sorry, what was part?
Congressional mandate when it was closed and then sold to the city. It's called the Dellums legislation in the early 1980s, part of the peace dividend after the Soviet Empire fell. We lost 26 military bases in Northern California.
Right.
Only 2 of them were left. But the part of the legislation requires that it be an economic engine for the revitalization of the community, and it cannot cost the community a dime. Otherwise, technically, Congress can take the property back.
Well,
Nobody thinks that Congress wants it back, but
well, I was able to see a number of those. I watched a number of the presentations that the developers presented, and there was no way that that was not going to cost the community a dime. It was going to cost way more than a dime, if not a few dozen of them. It wasn't a good deal. So if there was a way to be able to utilize it where the community still has access to it. Like I said, there's a lot of recreational. If we could turn it into some sort of recreational, self-sustaining park, that would be the best way in my opinion, to be able to do that because we don't have a great number of parks within Richmond, and I think that would be a way to be able to develop something that could be self-sustaining. Especially if we utilize those buildings to be able to have as community center spaces.
Okay. Another issue, the new maps that were passed, controversial. Okay, in particular, in this area, one of the maps that was proposed was going to reunite the two parts of Hilltop into one district. But there were trade-offs on that. What were your thoughts on the proposal that the neighborhood councils had as opposed to what was passed by the council?
Well, I think with the neighborhood councils, as much as they tried to say that they were impartial, were entirely, but they, while I appreciated their, while I appreciate the idea of community input, to say that they were the only method was a bit grandiose. I think the using of a third party, which is what the city council, the map that was proposed was brought in from a third party consultant. I think that was probably the better option because it did not have political leanings. It didn't have any sort of bias by the person who drafted it, and I don't see the necessity of including personal politics into it. That's why the idea that an RPA had a map is outrageous because they absolutely did not. They didn't submit one. They weren't even. They don't work for the consultant. So I don't think that there was otherwise somebody meddling in the drawing of the 200 series map that was adopted.
It doesn't seem to matter whether you're talking about our city council or our school district in this area. You have people that were elected to represent a given ward or district that seem to think that they are responsive only to the district that they live in and not the community as a whole. In this particular example, you are running for City Council District 4. Will you be representing District 4 or will you be representing the city of Richmond?
Well, I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's going to be both, but primarily I'm going to be representing the city as a whole. The city as a whole because everything that is brought to council is not necessarily going to affect my district, but that doesn't mean that I should be one who abstains from all of those or votes no against them. I think that if you want, the entire city is like a body. You can't piecemeal it. You have to look at it as a whole, and you have to be able to know that when certain things are being affected across town, it may not be your district, but it still affects the city that you live in. And so while I hope to bring the voices and the concerns of the people in my area, and I really do hope to represent them as best as I am able, I also hope to be able to give opportunities for people who are outside my area, outside my district, to have their voices lifted and make sure that they're also have a voice at the table. And so I hope to work for the city as a whole, and I hope that I have the confidence and backing of the people from my district.
Right. The past 19 years, there's been a complaint out in the community that some members of the city council or the mayor's office are responsive only to their friends, the people that help put them in office, to the point where that they are neglecting the rest of the community. So we have an us and them scenario. Are you going to be a part of us or are you going to be part of them?
Again, I don't think it's neither or, and I don't think that, I think that when people say they're only responsive to their friends, what they're really trying to say is that they feel like they're not friends with that person. I don't think anybody should not be listened to. I think that but the person who's elected needs to stand for their values, and those values are hopefully shared or if at least conveyed. But I always find when people have disagreement and things don't go their way, they say that, oh well, I'm being ignored. They're not being ignored. They're being disagreed with, and that is not the same thing. People need to be understanding that they have that they can be listened to, and I want to listen to people, but not everybody's going to get their way, and I hope that they'll understand that I am trying to listen to everyone and do the most judicious decision.
Okay, well, I thank you for all this. I'm going to close this off.